seventh mantra. We studied samasta saksham, how to maintain a witness, one of the most essential qualities to remain unaffected by the happenings around. And we learned that the Atman within is a perfect witness to the changes that the individual, the body, mind, and intellect is subjected to because of the dvandvas, the pairs of opposites of the world. So when the world presents itself as the change, it is natural that the individual is also subject to the change because the individual is affected by the world. But the Atman remains unaffected. Atman within is a true Sakshi to the world. And as we learned, the individual has the choice to either identify with the matter quotient or the spirit element. If you identify with the matter, which is the body, mind, and intellect, you will be subjected to the changes which the body, mind, and intellect are subjected to. They are subjected to change because they are affected by the world. But one chooses to identify with the self, the Atman within. You will gain the qualities or attributes of your identification, which is when the Atman remains changeless and unaffected, you also, to that extent you have identified, remain unaffected, you remain changeless. To that extent, you remain saksham. Saksham, samasta saksham, is not witness to certain pockets of experiences. You remain a witness to all that's happening around, samasta. So we also mentioned that it's important to understand witness as a path and witness as a goal. When you use or approach the quality of being a witness as a path, then it becomes abhyasa. Then it becomes very important that you use every opportunity not to identify. So it is a twofold step, if you think logically, is to de-identify with something that you're currently identifying and identify with something else. So you have to withdraw your current identification. So whatever you are currently identifying with, you have to de-identify. You got to withdraw from it. So when you put through this process of de-identifying and identifying with the higher, there is a chance of you injecting this quality of being a witness to that situation, being a witness to the happenings around. It's like, for example, when two people are relating, it is very easy to be influenced by the other person's personality. It could be good or it could be bad. Let's take a situation where another person has a negative emotion of anger or bitterness or ingratitude. It's very easy to be carried away with that emotion of others and to get affected by it. But if you are able to de-identify with that, if you are able to withdraw from that identification with that emotion and identify with the higher element within you. So you got to unlock from there and lock your thoughts to the higher. So if there is a way you can do it, if there is a way you can apply this quality, the chances are you will remain unaffected. You will become a witness to that which is thrown at you. There's a story of a philosopher. I will not tell the story, but the gist of that, he used to say, every walk of his life, every experience, he used to keep saying, is that so? He just kept saying, is that so? Is that so? Means almost having nothing to do with what you are throwing at me. If that's so, is that so? So an attitude of a buffer. You create a zone where excuse me. So you're not affected by it, but otherwise you're constantly absorbing. And if you took an example of either you are a butter paper or a blotting paper, what are you? Whether you want to absorb everything that's happening around you, or you remain in everything and don't absorb everything that's happening around you. As simple as that. Everything has a nature of its own and everything is being true to its nature. Why can't you be true to your nature? Why are you identifying? So you can use different arguments, different ways and means to achieve this quality of being objective, of being a witness. Now, most important thing is to find out areas where you're not being objective and try to practice this. That becomes abhyasa. So you clearly know what are your areas where you lose your objectivity. You're not really a witness. You get involved, you get carried away, you get affected. And those are the moments you take a step back, introspect. When we talk of reflection, and this is one of the things you should do, you could do, is to, in areas where you are unable to practice, you got to reflect. How can I implement this quality? This is reflection. You're, as we spoke in the workshop on reflection, you got to convert the knowledge into bite sizes, into smaller aspects, into relatable, so that you are able to apply it. So identify areas you are not able to be a witness. Why am I not able to practice a witness? Then you come to the bottom line and then try and rationalize it, and then examine exactly where you are and keep working on those areas where you are unable to implement it. Then perhaps you will find slowly there is a solution. So to any quality like that, in that matter, the process of reflection will help you to process the knowledge one of the important things reflection does is to convert the knowledge from an absolute standpoint to a relative standpoint, which is to make the knowledge from a statement of fact to a statement of practice. And a statement of practice is your job. The job of a guru is to give you the statement of fact, give you the knowledge, give you the know-how, the path, and the way to get there. But you will have to do it, calibrate the knowledge to your capacity and eat it, and consume it, and get benefited by it. Now, those of you who are not there in the workshop, which was conducted the last Sunday, I believe it's there online. You should go and revisit it and draw the complete picture. I'm just drawing a reference to that. Okay. And there are a couple of other elements in the okay, before I get to the verse, since I took the mention of the workshop, is there anything that you all wish to clarify, comment, or bring it up? Because we, due to some technical reasons, we lost the opportunity to have an interactive online, those who are virtually present. All right, so the other qualifications being on Lord Parameshwara, he says the concert of Uma, Parameshwara, Lord Shiva, the three-eyed is the opening of the eye of wisdom, which is symbolized with the Jnana Chakshu, a perfectly calm, one who is equanimous, almost symbolically said to be seated on Mount Kailash. I don't, because it is said so here, people go all the way to Mount Kailash to see as if Shiva is sitting there. And the gurus out there are marketing this beautifully to put you into the trap. People fall a trap and go and see, oh, I saw Lord Shiva sitting and meditating. Don't fall for this. Ignoramuses are gullible. Any person with some reputation and some standing says anything, you will fall for it. No independent thinking at all. And we say, so then why did the Upanishad say so? It is just a poetic. They are not saying Mount Kailash. I'm just passingly mentioning. The Lord is all pervasive. How can you give it a point of expression? It's not that it is there and it's not there anywhere else. Everything else is paraphernalia. You fall for that. All packaging. All these gurus are nothing else to do, just to make you trap for it. Some of you may respectfully say, did you, Guruji, have you been there? I have gone there or I have seen it. How can you refute to my assertion? I'm not trying to refute anything. If you see it, so be blessed with it. But it is only an objective representation. Don't take it literally, please. Every mountain peak glows in the morning sun. You know that? Not necessarily only Mount Kailash is glowing. I need to practice this perfectly calm. So Lord Shiva is very perfectly calm. And then he says the blue necked Neelakantham, as we all know, Lord Shiva has got his neck, which is turned blue. Now it's again, there's a reference to the story of the gods and the demons who were in search for nectar. Nectar here symbolizes immortality. They wanted the self. And whenever you search for it, whenever you are in pursuit of the truth, the first thing that you have to encounter, I'll ask this question because I don't know how many of you are in search of truth, but I'll ask Haresh in a language which he should be able to think. Haresh, when you get up in the morning, because your guru has been telling you to get up in the morning at 4 o'clock, okay? When you try to get up in the morning, what's the first feeling you have? What's the first thing that you experience when you try to get up in the early hours?
I know I have to get up every morning. I know I should do it. I know I have to do it.
I am not getting to that.
Yeah.
I am not even asking whether you're doing it or not. I'm only asking, when you do that, what's the experience? Whenever you have done it, I don't know how frequently you have done it. I'm not getting into it. But what is your experience is the question.
The experience is the body. The body doesn't get up. It's very tired, or it just switches off. The mind and the body, it just switches off. What happens is nothing happens. It just switches off. It's just tired.
You can say that you forgot what your guru says. You dismiss of the guru and you put the guru out and say, check him out.
No,
check the guru and the advice out both.
No,
is it? No, it's not. Okay.
Not at all.
Right. Now, coming back to the terms, now the comparison I'm drawing is when you go in search for nectar, which is the truth, what came out was, when you know the story, at least you know the story part, when they were churning the Milky Ocean, the gods and the demons, they had a huge snake. What is the snake name? You know the snake name, Haresh? It's a snake called Vasuki. So the snake was so long, they held the snake around the mountain. One held the head, other held the tail, and they were churning the mountain. You go to some traditional homes or this art, certain cultural art, they still hold these images from the Vishnu Purana. So the gods and demons were churning the Milky Ocean to draw nectar. So when they were churning, they were searching for nectar. The first thing that comes is, the first thing that came, even the story is, poison came out. First thing came was poison. And nobody wanted to consume the poison. But somebody had to consume. That's when Lord Shiva came forward. I'll consume the poison. And as he consumed, if you consume the poison, what would happen? You would die, isn't it? So as he kept consuming, Uma came and held his throat. So the poison was actually said to have, my story could be wrong. My storytelling is wrong. I need to go through some storytelling classes, But please correct me if I'm wrong. Vasantam, I'm correct in the story. So Uma came and held the neck, and the poison was contained in the esophagus, this neck area. So the neck it turned blue. Therefore, it is called Neelakantham. We consumed it, but it didn't go into his personality. So the couple of points of comparison. This is just a story. Every part of the story is just beyond human intellect. So don't accept anything if it doesn't accept your reason. First of all, a snake around a mountain, gods and demons churning a mountain. All of this is story. So don't fall for it. So any rational person will not follow it. So you must follow the rationality behind it. So the comparison here, first comparison is whenever you're trying to bring out nectar, which is you want to gain wisdom, you want to extract wisdom at a relative level and attain self-realization at an absolute level. When you churn your personality, when you get up in the auspicious hours, or when you do an activity to seek the higher, the first thing you experience is you detest it. The first thing you have to sail through if you want to get to true happiness. What is the nature of true happiness, Paresh?
It is what's in this context, what is very difficult and painful in the beginning is very joyful in the end.
Correct. It is poison in the beginning, it's nectar in the end. Akin to the words in the very context itself. The gods were searching for nectar, but what came first was poison. Any true happiness, sattvic happiness, is poison to begin with. It is nectarine at the end. On the contrary, anything that is non-sattvic, anything that's indulgent, anything that's non-spiritual is nectarine in the beginning, poison at the end. Experience teaches you that. You know that. So that's the first thing. Okay, you're trying to draw the parallel. So first thing, you get up in the morning, you detest it. It's unpalatable, isn't it? Because you're seeking sattvic happiness. Now, the second thing is the poison that manifests or comes when you are churning your personality is nothing but the desires. The desires which you are not conscious of, the desires which you are not aware of, or the desires which are not manifesting, they keep surfacing, which is poison. And what do you do to the desires that come to surface? Katima, what do you do of the desires which come to surface?
Snuff it out immediately.
Huh?
Push aside immediately, not to entertain it.
Not to entertain it, but in the context of the Neelakantham, the blue neck, how do you draw a parallel?
Just to be a witness of it.
Witness, samasta saksha. Neelakantham is different quality.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Just now you said dismiss it. Now you're saying enjoy it.
No,
Make up your mind.
Without affecting it, without taking it inside with us.
See, the desires which are like poison has to be held between the head and the heart. So when you hold it in the neck, it doesn't allow to affect your heart or the head. So it doesn't disturb your intellectual clarity or mental equanimity. Because the mental desires, when desires are not handled well, it disturbs your intellectual clarity and mental equanimity, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes.
So when it is held between in the neck, refers to you don't allow it to affect your mental equanimity, which is the heart, nor the intellectual clarity, which is the head. So that's a parallel you draw by holding the poison in the neck. Because extreme stress either hits the heart or the head, isn't it? Are you able to follow, Ma? The two comparisons when you say blue necked. The first is, we said, when you are seeking true happiness, it has a poisonous beginning. Similarly, when the gods and the demons were in search for the truth or nectar, first came out poison. And Lord Shiva, when he consumed, he held the poison in between the heart and the head. And since he held it in the neck, he got the name Nilakantha. Other than that, rest of the story, which can be explored independently, but there's a philosophical implication. Yes, Hariji?
Guruji, about holding the poison at the neck, can you kindly give us an example in the practical how it has to be done?
I was
Because-
just about to show. I just had a sip of water. I was about to hold it in the neck. You asked a little late. Now you'll have to wait until I have the next sip after 20 minutes.
Okay.
How else can I show you? You tell me.
No, what is the practical? How do we hold it? Something has happened. How do we hold the negativity which we will I will not be able to let it affect my head nor heart. That is only for me to implement or practice. I'm not able to conceive intellectually.
Sir, what we are only saying, that the philosophical takeaway from that is anything that happens should not affect the head nor the heart. So when the heart is affected, it disturbs your mental peace and equanimity. There's no difficulty to understanding how not to remain affected mentally. Intellectually, it shouldn't. When the mind is disturbed, the first thing it happens is it clouds the intellect. See, it's a mental disturbance that clouds the intellectual clarity. It's like on a bright sunny day, you don't experience the direct sunlight because of the passing clouds. The clouds come in and block the sun and its rays from reaching the earth. So it becomes a little gloomy. Similarly, when the mind is disturbed, and when is a mind disturbed? The mind is disturbed when the various emotions are vacillating. It could be insecurity, it could be fear, it could be anxiety, it could be uncertainty, it could be any of the emotion. Extreme joy also, your mind gets excited. So this mental turbulence clouds the intellectual clarity. So your mental equanimity is affected, your intellectual clarity is also affected. So if you're able to handle the emotion well, your mind is calm, your intellectual clarity or sanity prevails. So we are only saying that the desires and the emotions which rise from the desires, as you know, desire is the root of all emotions. desire and the emotion which arise from the desire should not affect your mental peace, equanimity, nor your intellectual clarity. And how do you do that? Is by controlling the desire. And when you start churning your personality to purify it, the impurities come out first. So the impurities contained in you are the unknown desires and the unmanifest desires. So the unmanifest desires start coming to the surface. And when they come, don't allow it to affect your heart, which indirectly will also affect your head. That is the rationality part. Now, where is the difficulty in understanding this, or what would be the difficulty in understanding this?
No, I understand the theory. I was just wondering a practical example. When I have a negative feeling, what may be anger or any of the negative hidden feelings, when it is getting projected, how do I? What's the practical method of controlling that? I'm talking from the practicality, how to implement it.
So practicality is again a straightforward advice we often given. You've got to operate, don't operate on the emotion. You've got to operate, rationalize it, operate on your intellect.
Okay.
You have lost control by your intellect, you fall a prey to the emotion.
Okay.
We are not telling not to entertain an emotion. The Shastras say, they don't say you must become like a piece of wood or stone. They don't say become heartless. No, you've got to have a heart. You've got to have a feeling. You've got to relate to the variety of feelings. But have it under your control. That's all they're saying.
Okay.
So the concept is very familiar. It is only the style in which the Vishnu Purana brings it out. It's just a context. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Shivaji. Yeah, Sethuji.
Hariom Guruji. I just wanted to share that, see, when we get up in the morning, every time the desire detests, and there is a desire to go back to bed because we have started early. Let me again get back. We are at 4:30 instead of 4, and that desire crops up. I have to remind what is the very purpose, the higher purpose of getting evolvement. So I have to keep reminding on that and detest the desire and fight with it. This is and use the intellect, as you rightly said. And next is to avoid such happenings, we have to go to bed early. We have to go to bed early. We have to eat early. So that we may have to practice. It's a very tough thing. These things do crop up and at every stage in every walk of life. But this morning example, I do even after long practice. Also, I have a lot of problems in getting up on time and continuing it, sadhana.
So you should not fall a prey to the pranks of the mind. Mind is up to some mischief all the time, so don't fall a prey to it. But it certainly helps to, Harish, they should try this. It's not the question of getting up early, it's always the question of sleeping early. If you do that, if you switch off from the world, you will find enough encouragement to be up the early hours. But if you give priority to being awake till late into the night, it becomes very demanding. As you said, the body shuts down, your mind is not alert, only alarm keeps ringing. Nothing seems to be happening.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. And then he says, Bhuta Yonim. He says that the womb or the source of all beings. A very interesting construction here. Why does he, when you say a womb or the source of all beings, it is not the source. Brahman is the source of all beings, but it's not the source in the sense that chicken is the source of the egg. Father is the source of the son. Not in the sense of cause and effect in that sense, but it is the source of being in the sense like it is the source, like the rope is the cause, the source of the snake. There's a world of difference in the two examples. You've got that, Amitama?
Hariom Guruji. Yes, I'm trying to get it. I think intellectually I get it, but I'm trying to process the rope as the source of the snake. That one, that example.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, when he says the source of beings, we should understand it as the rope is the source of the snake, not like the father is the source of the son, not like the chicken is the source of the egg, not like the seed is the source of the tree. Not in that sense. There is a cause and effect, but not in this way, but that way.
Mm.
Why is it that way? Are you able to rationalize?
No, sir. I'm just gonna say that it is not just the physical, because the father as source of the child or the seed as the source of the tree, I think is quite that's at the physical level, and it's easy to understand that, but this is beyond. Yeah, the rope as the source of the snake. So it's
Now,
beyond cause and effect.
It is beyond cause and effect. In fact, the terms that is used for this cause and effect, they say it's a causeless cause. It's a causeless cause. Now, but let's decode what's happening with reference to the creation, any creation. Now, let's say there is a house, you see a house. Instantly, wherever there is a house, you will posit that there is someone who has created the house, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because without the creator, there cannot be a creation. You see a pot, there has to be a potter who has created the pot. Without the creator, there cannot be the creation. You see a watch, and there has to be a watchmaker, someone who has created the watch. So there is a creator and the creation. Now, in any creation, there are three things, there is three factors for any creation. There is the first, that is the creator. There is a person who creates it. The second is there has to be the urge to create. The urge to create is nothing but the desire to create. The third is the union between the two. Okay, Amidama?
Yes, sir. Yes.
In any creation, the three things. Now let's get others to see how it will fit into this creation. Kashish, now with reference to the creation of the house, what are the three factors that go in?
Well, Guruji, presumably there would be a creator, someone who wants to build the house, or the person who's building the house. Then there would be the urge to create. So a reason for building the house, you need a home, maybe you need shelter. Everyone needs a house. And the union between the two would be the people who are building the house experiencing that urge, feeling that sense of urgency to create, getting the tools and everything, getting the required physical building materials, inspired by that urge.
Perfect. Now, can you explain when you see a paint? I show you a paint, a piece of art. What are three things that go into this?
The creator or the painter, the one who paints
painter,
it,
the creator, the painter. Second,
the inspiration to create, in this case, the image of what to paint in the first place, the urge to create.
the urge is the desire to create. The third,
And then the union between the two, so the painter actually picking up the paintbrush and starting to paint.
correct. So there is a difference between the urge and the union, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not, why we separate the two is, if there is no separation, that it doesn't mean the painter is all the time painting. So at times when he identifies with the urge to create. Okay, so the same we can apply it to the pot, the same thing can be applied to the watch, the same thing can be applied to anything, right? Wonderful, Kashish. Now, Vijayji, the same thing should be applied to the world as well. The world which you and I see day in and day out, from birth we have been seeing, there also has to be a creator. So can you please fit in the three for the creation of the world?
I think there is no definition of any beginning, Guruji.
Now let's not talk of beginning. We're talking of the existence. If there is an existence, if there's a creation, we said there are three factors for the creation: creator, urge, and union. Can you please fit these three into the world?
I'm unable to do it because I don't know where exactly the urge is. And
Can the first
the
one
creator
be
is still abstractly defined. And the process of creation has been only scientifically discussed.
Sir, we don't have to rack our head abstractly here. He says Brahman is the source of all creation, the whole beings. The world, he's saying, in fact, the world. So Brahman is the creator. Okay, let's gulp that down. Okay, And how can you fit in the second element there?
No.
Why
Where
can't
exactly
we?
why the urge was there to create is, I don't know, I'm not able to think of it, exactly define it. This is like a concept of infinity, I'm not able to grapple with it.
So there is a fallacy in the argument. If you say that every creation have to have a creator, and if you say that the world was created by an unknown creator, and what these men have given, they have given that unknown name or term, they called it God. So it's a convenient just to brush the ignorance under the carpet by saying God created the world, but nobody knows who's God. So God created the world is the biggest joke.
The world always existed is another form of putting it.
I wouldn't go into that line. I wouldn't
Sorry.
go into those lines.
Sorry.
No, even when you first said that, I said I quickly I didn't entertain that. Now, what I wanted to establish in this communication, Vijayji, is that as you were uncertain, how can you plant a motive in God, isn't it? You can understand a man has the urge to create a home, a man has the urge to create a child, a man has the urge to create a pot, a watch, understandable. But to say that Brahman has the urge or the desire to create God, you're bringing God to a level of a mortal. So that's the fallacy in the argument, that these three elements of, if there is no urge, there's no question of union at all, isn't it? So there is only, so therefore what exists? Therefore, we say the source of all beings cannot be understood as, we said we can't understand it as the father as a source of the sun, the chicken as a source of the egg. We said we have to understand it as the rope is the cause of the snake. In that sense, Brahman is the cause of the world of all beings, just like the rope is the cause of the snake. So the example of the rope and the snake helps us to get over this concept where we have established that you can't attribute desire to God for the creation. It doesn't apply. There's a fallacy in argument. Isn't it, sir?
So by Guruji, by using a dual description for the beginning, they're saying that we are trying to say something which cannot be explained. I mean, anything else would sort of hint towards a beginning, I suppose.
I am lost. I don't get you, sir.
By saying womb of, one moment, there's something going wrong with, yeah. By using the expression of womb of everything, there's, I mean, saying something which is sort of contradictory and saying to indicate that, you know, we cannot describe the beginnings.
No, we are not trying to understand when did it begin. We're only trying to understand what is the source of all beings. What is the source? Okay. So I'm not going into when did it begin and things like that. Okay. Now, not to make it too confusing, but when he says that it is a source, you have to understand it as the rope is the source of the snake. Now, what is important to understand is it is the ignorance of the rope that has brought about the snake. It's just one liner that will help you understand that. It's the ignorance of the existence of the rope there that is responsible for the imaginary snake. Add the word qualified is imaginary. The ignorance of the rope was responsible for the creation of the imaginary snake. So Gayatri Ma, can you fill it with the reality?
Ignorance of Brahman has created this world.
What's the one essential word you're missing there? Okay, ignorance of the rope has created a
Snake.
what snake? Imaginary snake.
Imaginary snake.
Ilya, imagination, it's not the reality. It is all in your mind. Brahma. So exactly the same way, the ignorance of Brahman has created the
Imaginary world.
where you and I are suffering in. And you will sit and question, how can you say it is imaginary? This world is very real to me. Exactly like the child is complaining that the snake has stung me and poison is rising up in my leg and I can feel the pain. And how can you say the snake is illusion? And yet the truth is, the snake is illusory, isn't it? To a person who comes with you with stress and depression and passing thoughts of suicide, you can't tell him it's all imaginary, isn't it? You can't tell imaginary world. This is what the masters are saying. Haresh, I know it's a little difficult. Best understood at 5 a.m. in the morning. You're adding salt to injury, you know. Are you following, Haresh?
I'm following it. Yes, but yeah, I'm following it. But like Mr. Vijay Ragan, were the three factors for the world. I'm also in that quandary. But other than that, I'm following.
Which element you're lost? Sorry.
You said the three factors that there is an existence. And you told us the creator is Brahman, and that's when Mr. Vijay Ragan brought that subject up. So I'm still a bit trying to understand that a bit better. Other than that, I understand the rest.
Okay. That's why I didn't want to go into those lines as when did the world begin and things like that, you know?
Right.
It's like a dreamer asking, when did the dream begin? When you go to sleep, you have a dream family, Harish. You have a dream business, you have a dream father, you're a dream immigrant in a dream land, in a dream world, with a dream past, with a dream future, with a dream history. Now I ask you, how long was a dream? Oh, Guruji, my dream has been for close to 49 years, 50 years. I have my father. I do remember spending some brief moments with my grandfather, and I heard about my ancestry, where they have come from. So you give me description of 50, 100 years, and yet I ask you, how long is a dream? Just 3 minutes. You've just gone to sleep, and in that short 3-minute span, you've projected a history, and you'll take me to your school, you'll take me to your university, you'll take me to your initial working days, you'll introduce me to your colleagues, you'll take me to your kindergarten, take me to every every possible proof to tell you that I've actually lived. These are the elements of proof that I have experienced this. And yet the dream is just 3 minutes old. The Shastras say the waking world is exactly like the dream. Only difference between the waking and the dream is there's a continuity in the waking world. There is no continuity in the dream. That's the only difference. Other than that, everything is the same. It is just a mere imagination. Just because the world seems a little more solid and real to you, this does not make it any more real. What happens to this solid office that you are sitting now, Harish? What happens to the office when you go to sleep tonight? Where is your office? Sorry?
I mean,
What happens to it, sir?
There's no office then. It's just, there is
Let's
no
say
office.
though you are so overloaded with work coming because of sheer exodus of work, you tell the family, I will be late at work. It might be that I'll just catch a short nap at work itself because I have early meeting as well. So you sleep in your office cabin itself tonight. I ask you, what happens to your cabin when you go into that sleep tonight? Does your office, does your cabin exist for you?
No.
Doesn't exist.
Even though I'm in the cabin, it doesn't exist because
It doesn't exist for you. You are caught up. The dream world is very real to you then. So 1/3 is waking. 2/3 of your time you spend in sleep. I don't know what's the percentage of time you spend in sleep? Your whole life? Any idea, Lakshmi Ma?
No clue, but if we are supposed to sleep 8 hours, then 24 hours in a day. I'm calculating like that. It's 1/3, is it? 1/3.
1/3.
Yeah.
No, don't go 8 hours. No. How many years in your early childhood you're sleeping? All that you don't take into account. Whatever, 30-40%, So you're spending, you don't know where you are. You don't have access to that realm of experience. Vedanta only takes that experience into account and say, just because you are in this world, you can't claim to this experience to be any more real than the waking, than the dream or deep sleep. No, it's a subject matter for another day, but they say the waking world is just like another dream. It's just like another dream. The famous experience of King Janaka. King Janaka woke up horrified, terrified from his sleep one day, and he summoned his ministers and he posed them a question in the midnight. They thought there's some enemies are invading them, or attacking them. So they were terrified. What was the emergency meeting? And when he called them and said this question to them to find an answer, he said, I had a horrifying dream. I dreamt to be a beggar. No, I am confused. Am I the beggar thinking myself to be the king, or am I the king who dreamt to be the beggar? I want an answer. They all were half asleep. They don't know what was going on. And when they came to the senses, they found out none of them had answers to what the great King Janaka was asking. And then the sage, great celebrated sage Ashtavakra, he came and he clarified. He said, "You are neither the king, you are not the beggar who dreamt yourself, you are not the deep sleeper, you are yourself. So you are not the waker, not the dreamer, not the deep sleeper. And this is a lifetime goal to find out what you are. But yeah, they are certainly very clear. They say you are not what you think you are. You're not the waker, you're not the dreamer, you're not the deep sleeper." A bit difficult pill to digest, very difficult pill to digest. But this is the truth. Yeah, Lakshmana.
As usual, I'm thinking a lot. So when we really wake up, this material world won't exist, right? So it's all about waking up, right? When
To
we
the
wake up,
reality, you
this
mean?
world does not, yeah, the world does not exist, but only the consciousness is there, Brahman is there. But wow, to get to that state, don't know how many janmas, Guruji.
Let this Janma count.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
Yes.
slowly.
Yeah, Vijayji.
Guruji, I'm slightly confused in one sense. When I'm asleep, all the material things and relations and possibly the entire world is unreal to me. But then it is not unreal, especially the gross tangible matters are not unreal to others. Like when I'm asleep, this table doesn't exist for me, but then for someone else who can see the table, it exists for them. So yeah, I agree that it is not permanent in the sense where it cannot be true, but at the same time, it exists for others. So how do I explain this, Guruji? I'm not able to.
So even the other person whom you're talking about, is he also not a part of your creation?
Yes.
So when you are not, the creator of this world is not there, how can the part of the creation exist? Even the part of the creation doesn't exist for you. You may say, "Oh, I am sleeping with my wife. I slept early, so the world disappeared for me." But obviously she is still in the bedroom. She's still next to me. So the world and the bed and the world should exist for her. But she is also part of your creation. So when you have gone to sleep, who is a part of the creation also disappears, isn't it? Along with the world that you have created. So how does it matter to you? If as far as
Yes.
you're concerned,
Yes,
when
that's true.
when the world is not there, the things and beings of the creation also disappear, no?
But I mean, I possibly can understand that for me, with me as a reference, as an individual as a reference, 100%.
Correct.
But somehow when it comes to multiple people, it doesn't enter my head. Anyway, I'll think about it, Guruji. I understand what.
See, so even in a waking world, to understand the waking world, I'm not talking of the dream, sir. You know, the waking world is described as a projection of your own mind. So your family is in the same shelter, in the same house, yet each of you are living in a realm or a world of your own, aren't you?
It's true.
Your day begins with reading the Business Times. Perhaps your wife begins a day with performing pujas and certain rituals. Your son begins his day with conference calls or going for a sport or a walk. Your grandchild begins his day by going to a school. Same house, the same shelter, same city, same place, yet each one are in a different world. How is it? Because of the thoughts and desires in your mind that project the world for you. You don't understand the world of your spouse doesn't understand the world of your grandchild. The grandchild doesn't understand, has a clue as to what is the world of his father. So the world is a projection of your own mind, the waking world I'm talking. Now change the nature of the mind, what will happen? The world changes, isn't it?
Our perception of the world, our mental attitude towards the world changes completely.
It's all a play of your mind. Sir. The solidarity of the world exists in your mind. That's what they say. The sports mind, a sports world, a philosophical mind, a philosophical world, a music mind, a music world, a political mind, a political world. No mind, no world. Temporarily, the no mind is in dream, you have a mind of your own. In deep sleep, there is no mind temporarily. Permanently in realization, there is completely amana. Amana means no mind. So all of these arguments only convince us it's all a play of your mind, all thoughts. And when there's this union between the thoughts, there's the urge and the creator, there is this creation, which is a solidarity of the world we are experiencing. You see, sir? Okay. It's amazing, as Setuji says, a self-realized person, Lakshmima, for him, the perception is only see Brahman. In the 9th mantra, he says that. Saeva sarvam yadbhutam yacha bhavyam sanatanam. He alone is all that has seen and shall be seen eternal. He who sees the eternal. In fact, in the 10th mantra, he puts it very clearly. Sarva bhutastha atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani. By seeing the self in all beings and all beings in the self. So you have that perception where the self is in all beings and you see only the self everywhere. We'll get to the mantra 10, we'll see that. But here, just to conclude, when he says the source of beings, remember, it is God is not created the world, its ignorance of God is the source of the creation. Just like rope has not created the snake, it is the ignorance of the rope that has created the snake. We have maintained it. This is the important line that helps you to understand it. It's ignorance of rope that has created the snake, not rope. Similarly, ignorance of Brahman is the cause of the world, not Brahman. And lastly, in the mantra 7, he says, Tamasa Parastad. Here is this knowledge which takes you beyond ignorance, beyond doubts. It takes you to a point where you're established in that consciousness, the truth, the reality. So you're meditating on Parameshwara. Let's chant this mantra. You understand the terms that we have used. Parameshwara, consort of Uma, three-eyed, the blue-necked, perfectly calm, the sage, the witness of all, source of all beings, transcending tamas. Let's chant the 7th mantra once to remind what all we've learned, and then we'll come back to it. Uma sahayam parameshwaram prabhum त्रिलोचनं नीलकण्ठं प्रशान्तं ध्यात्वा मुनिर्गच्छति भूतयोनिं समस्तसाक्षिं तमसः परस्तात्. We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.